Good evening. I'm your host, Bishop Grigori, and welcome to this edition of God's Word News Service, The Bishop's Point of View. The stink of hypocrisy, corruption, and treason on the part of our elected officials hangs over the United States like the putrid stench of rotting garbage lingering over a landfill on a hot and humid day. And it is coming from both sides of the aisle. On the right, we have House Speaker Paul Ryan, who said he cannot support Donald Trump for president at this time. Why? Could it be because Trump is constitutionally eligible, a natural-born citizen? Or could it be that Trump believes in really upholding the Constitution and protecting the U.S. from all enemies, foreign and domestic? Ryan said he wants to see a commitment to advance Republican principles, saying, and I quote, "I think what a lot of Republicans want to see is that we have a standard bearer that bears our standards and unifies all wings of the Republican Party." End of quote. Excuse me, Mr. Ryan, but exactly what are those standards? For years, you Republican members of the House and Senate have done nothing but suck up to the left. You have never fought for anything. You have willfully ignored the will of the people who elected your sorry butts to office. You claim that one of the principles of conservatism is limited government, the proper role of the executive in adherence to the Constitution. If you really believe that, then how is it that none of you Republican members of Congress never once used your constitutional power of the purse to stop the out-of-control spending? As the out-of-control Obama violated the Constitution over and over again from day one, how come none of you on the right ever made any serious move to rise up and remove Obama from office? Especially knowing that Obama was never constitutionally eligible to hold the office of president in the first place. Ryan pointed out that he feels Trump strayed from Republican Party ideals, such as when Trump proposed a temporary ban on Muslims entering the United States until they could be thoroughly vetted to make sure that they have no connections to any Muslim terrorist group. Ryan stated this is not conservatism. What was proposed by Trump is not what this party stands for, and more importantly, he says, it's not what this country stands for. Why is that, Mr. Ryan? Could it be because keeping our country secure from attack from within and without is not a conservative value anymore? So what exactly is conservatism today? Inviting the enemy into the country through the front door while allowing millions of illegals to flood in through the back door to rape, assault, and murder American citizens? Paul Ryan has no problem with supporting, either overtly or covertly through his silence, constitutionally ineligible candidates such as Cruz, Ruby, and Jindal, none of whom are natural-born citizens, just as he had no problem, along with the rest of Congress, remaining silent about Obama's constitutional ineligibility to be sitting in the Oval Office. Paul Ryan has betrayed every single American citizen. He told us that he is for secure borders, but then turned around and funded every dangerous immigration policy through the $1.8 trillion omnibus bill, instead of defending the U.S. and the American people he funded all his special interest pals. Instead of upholding the Constitution and the rule of law, the GOP members of Congress have, over the years, warped and twisted conservative principles to mean reaching across the aisle to compromise with the left on every important political and moral issue, which in the end caused those on the right to lose totally on every issue: abortion, school prayer, gay rights, same-sex marriage, free trade agreements that cost us jobs, and constant raising of the minimum wage that leads to higher prices and more lost jobs, illegal immigration, failure to protect our borders, and now the transgender bathroom issue. As the Republicans reached their hands across the aisle to compromise, those on the left handed them the stick that was used to stir the poop, filthy end first. And those on the right eagerly grabbed it, sinking the United States deeper into the cesspool. And that, my friends, are the conservative values of today. They are the conservative values of the likes of Paul Ryan and the rest of the Republican members of Congress. As for Cruz and Rubio, if they are incapable of being honest concerning their constitutional ineligibility, then how in God's name are we supposed to believe them about anything else? As for you, Mr. Obama, just who the hell are you to open your yap saying that occupying the Oval Office is not a reality show, especially after the damage you have done to this country? On Friday, May 6, 2016, Obama stated, quote, "This is not entertainment. This is not a reality show. This is a contest for the presidency of the United States," end of quote. Well, Obama, you never treated the office of president with the respect it deserves. Right from the beginning, you showed nothing but contempt for the United States, its people, its institutions, and the Constitution. First of all, you were never a legal, constitutionally eligible president. You assumed the office through fraud, aided and abetted by both houses of Congress and the courts. You never acted like a president. Instead, you ran roughshod over the country, acting more like a little tin-horn dictator, imposing your will over every aspect of our lives. You dragged your skinny butt around the world at taxpayer expense, bowing, scraping, and kowtowing to foreign leaders, making a laughing stock out of America. You are a dimwit when it comes to negotiating. All of your treaties have placed us ever deeper into danger and have shafted many of our longtime allies around the world. There is nothing normal or moral about you. And as for your disgusting Mother's Day message, it is just one more example of your twisted mentality. With you, everything is political and designed to push your depraved and perverted agenda, not only on the United States, but on the rest of the world as well. One of the disgusting things you said in this year's Mother's Day message was, quote, "Regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, or marital status, mothers have always moved our nation forward," end of quote. Yeah, sure. Just like Muslims have a great history of making major contributions to the United States. Mr. Obama, do you ever listen to the garbage coming out of your mouth? Boy, have you ever had some mentally and morally screwed up role models in your life? Like your nanny back in Indonesia when you were 8 years old. A gay transgendered man known as Evie, who would try on your mother's lipstick and often dress in drag when leaving the house. That's what you base your maternal figures on? What a sorry sack of human excrement you are. And your wife is no better either. Exactly what constitutional power does she have to force our children to eat only what she considers is good for them, by demanding what our schools can serve or not serve? Perhaps she should be forced to eat some of the stuff she insists on forcing down the throats of our children. And she gave the commencement speech at Jackson State University in Mississippi yesterday. And her bigotry and racism shined right through when she told the students to ignore the will of the people and popular opinion. She told them to follow their own agenda. What a total destructive and divisive thing to tell the college graduates. Like you, she seems to relish breeding racism. And she is a total disgrace, both as a first lady and as a woman. All you and your wife are interested in is enslaving American citizens to the government policies that are contrary to the wishes of the majority of the citizens and anti-constitutional. Yes, our republic was formed to prevent a true democracy from oppressing a minority. But what is developed is that the minorities are oppressing the majority of Americans. The Congress has permitted this by their inactivity, and the Supreme Court has kowtowed to you and your wife by their total disregard of the Constitution and the will of the people. Barry Soetoro, aka Obama, is and always has been a pathological liar, who also knew he was ineligible to hold the office of President of the United States. And the Congress knew it also. Obama, to put it plainly, is a traitor to this country, no question about it. His illegitimate time in office has done massive damage to our once great republic. And if any Democrat should get in the White House in January, we will, as a nation, be destroyed beyond repair. Having allowed Obama to usurp the office of president and allowing him to remain there for 2 terms has opened the eyes of many American citizens to what the fundamental transformation of America, which Obama bragged about, was really all about. The complete sellout of the United States and the American people. You call yourself president. No, Mr. Obama, you are not a president. You are a traitor, a fraud, and a liar. You, sir, deserve the same treatment that the good people of Italy gave to Benito Mussolini. So take some friendly advice and shut your mouth and slink off to whatever rat hole you want to reside in when your undeserved term is over. Now, like it or not, believe it or not, we do not know what is in the hearts of others. The best we can do is surmise. But God is well aware of what is in our hearts. In the case of Bobby Jindal, Marco Rubio, and Ted Cruz, God knows they are liars. He knows they put their personal ambitions above truth and honesty. Those 3 former presidential candidates took heat early on regarding their eligibility under the U.S. Constitution. It continued for months, and in the case of Cruz, lawsuits were filed to try to keep him off the ballot. Jindal and Rubio are U.S. citizens, but not natural-born citizens, despite the corrupt and intellectual lazy people in the media who could care less about the U.S. Constitution. Cruz's U.S. citizenship still remains totally unproven. Now, here are the facts. Bobby Jindal was born in June 1971 in Louisiana. His parents, who came from India, did not become U.S. citizens until his mother did in 1976 and his father in 1986. Therefore, Bobby Jindal is a citizen of the United States, but he's an anchor baby, not a natural-born citizen. Why? Because to be a natural-born citizen requires both of the candidate's parents must be citizens of the United States at the time of the candidate's birth. Likewise, Rubio was born in 1971 in the state of Florida. His parents were here as immigrants from Cuba. They did not become U.S. citizens until 1975. Therefore, Rubio is also a U.S. citizen, but he's also an anchor baby, but hardly a natural-born citizen. Now we come to Ted Cruz. What a delightful piece of work he is. He was born in Canada in 1970. And those who have done no research and have zero knowledge concerning the Constitution and the original intent of the framers of the Constitution are operating under the assumption that Cruz holds dual citizenship since his mother was born in the U.S. However, there are two very obvious faults with that line of thinking. The first being that the Constitution of the United States does not allow for those with dual citizenship to hold the office of president or vice president. Secondly, Canada did not recognize dual citizenship until 1977. So Cruz was a full-blown Canadian citizen at birth, with a Canadian birth certificate to prove it, until he legally renounced his Canadian citizenship on May 4th, 2014, becoming a man without a country. Now, why do I say that Cruz is a man without a country? Well, the facts are that since Cruz's parents were not working for the U.S. government or serving in the U.S. military in Canada, and since Cruz's father became a legal Canadian citizen before Ted's birth, if they had intended Ted to be a recognized citizen of the U.S., U.S. law mandated that his parents would have to go to the nearest U.S. consulate or U.S. embassy and file a consular report of birth abroad of a citizen of the United States of America, a CRBA. Cruz refuses to provide a court-certified copy of a CRBA filed by his parents because no such document was ever filed. He also refuses to provide a copy of his passport or any other documentation proving U.S. citizenship. If a CRB wasn't properly submitted when Cruz was born, then how does he even claim U.S. citizenship? Do any of you understand the implications of this? Ted Cruz is not even a legal U.S. senator. Cruz ran for and was elected U.S. Senator for the state of Texas in 2012. He was then sworn into that office in January of 2013. Since he did not legally renounce his Canadian citizenship until May 4th of 2014, that means up until then he was a legal Canadian citizen when he ran for, was elected to, and sworn in as a member of the United States Senate. The man committed election fraud, which is a felony under both state and federal laws. Yet, he was allowed to get away with it. Now, I have no doubt in my mind that both Cruz and Rubio know they are ineligible, since neither of them are dummies. But they are both the deceitful liars who instead of standing up for the very document they took an oath to preserve and protect, the U.S. Constitution, they tried to lie and bluff their way into the office of president, especially Cruz in particular, whose actions are as ugly and arrogant as those of the imposter presently in the White House. The GOP, the Republican Party, protected all three of them. They kind of had to save their own butts. If they didn't, they would have opened a whole can of worms. The entire ugly truth about Barry Soetoro Obama usurping the office of president by fraud would then be out in the open for the whole world to see. That truth is that an imposter is acting as commander-in-chief, signing one unconstitutional bill after another into law. And that the Republican members of both the House and the Senate aided and abetted Obama and the Democrats by doing nothing to stop it. The GOP could not let the truth come out, as it would expose their part in the fraud. So they allowed Jindal, Rubio, and Cruz to illegally appear on ballots in all 50 states of the Union. The wolves in sheep's clothing, the hypocrites, the traitors in both parties have been given free rein to destroy what was the greatest country in the history of mankind. They have just about completely eradicated all moral and ethical values in the U.S. They have just about destroyed the traditional family and family values. Our education system is a total mess, as is our legal system. The insane now have free rein over every element of our society, lording it over the sane and using the courts to force their immoral and unnatural lifestyles down the throats of every American citizen. How has this happened? It happened because we the people have failed in our duty to challenge any candidate's eligibility to run as president under Article 2, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution. We have failed to hold our elected officials accountable for their failure to adhere to the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. We have allowed all three branches of government to enslave us and make us all wards of the state. The base of power was to remain in we the people, but we lost that power to politicians, bureaucrats, judges, and lawyers acting in the name of government. The only way to fix this mess is that we must start now, to force our elected officials and those they appoint to obey the Constitution of the United States and adhere to their oath of office, even if it means marching in mass on Washington, D.C., and dragging them out of office if they fail to comply. But first, it is incumbent upon us to study and learn the Constitution. For as it is written in the Bible, quote, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge," end of quote. That's from the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6. When our elected representatives acting in the name of government violate ethics and morals as well as their oath of office and the Constitution, they break the trust that we the people, and the natural and normal result is and should be that we the people pull back their power. Unchecked power becomes the foundation of tyranny. Under what logic do we send our young people off to war to battle tyranny in foreign countries while at the same time refusing to fight tyranny in our own country? Never again must we fail to challenge any candidate's eligibility to run as president under Article 2, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution. The natural-born citizen clause was grandfathered in by the framers for a serious reason. And individuals with immigrant parents need to find out ahead of time if they are eligible. And if not, accept it and move on. And most importantly, we must all get ourselves right with the Creator. Because in the words of William Penn, those people who are not governed by God will be ruled by tyrants. And to quote another of our great founders, John Adams, quote, "Our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." Failure to act, failure to do what is right morally and ethically, will plunge the United States into total chaos and leave us forsaken and forgotten on the trash heap of history. Thank you. May God bless you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.